All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get it out the way. Pacquiao lost. All right, Pacquiao lost to a Cuban that took the fight on 11 days' notice. He got outpunched or outboxed, what was it, 101 to 88 as far as punches landed. And the dude just happens to be of a similar skin complexion and bald like me. So let's go ahead and get it out the way. I've told the story before, jokingly, but it kind of did have some underlying sentiments. All right, so Manny Pacquiao is the pride of the Philippines, ladies and gentlemen. He is the pride of the Philippines. If you do not know this, that's number one. Number two, two of his major losses came from gentlemen who look like me. And I know I'm just being funny, but it's kind of real. Let me get to it. Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Timothy Bradley. Now, the Timothy Bradley fight, you can go out on a limb and say, yeah, he kind of won that fight. Maybe you could say Bradley stole it. Again, it's all a matter of opinion, but the way the judges saw it, he ended up winning the fight. With Floyd Mayweather, you can kind of have the same conclusion, depending on how you looked at it. But again, Floyd got the W that night. So now we're coming into the age of a 42-year-old Manny Pacquiao and a 35-year-old, and I want to say his last name is Ugas. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, don't kill me for it. But Manny Pacquiao is getting up there in age, ladies and gentlemen, and it might be time for him to retire. Honestly, going into this fight, I kind of felt like the topics of conversation weren't necessarily about the fight, guys. It was more or less about his political moves. We all know he's a sitting senator, aka he is referred to in the Philippines as the fighting senator from Sarangani province there in General Santos City. He was the governor there, and now there is presidential talks in his future. So for me, when you got so much going on in your life like that, let's be real. I really don't know if his mind, heart, or energy was into the fight. That doesn't mean that Manny Pacquiao is not a bomb-ass fighter. As a matter of fact, I love Manny Pacquiao particularly for one reason and one reason alone. He's a southpaw fighter. I'm a lucky lefty. I am a left-handed fighter, and I love all left-handed fighters. All right, I do. That's just my thing. The first time I ever saw Manny Pacquiao fight was a long, long time ago, man. I can't even remember who he fought that night, but this was in the early part of 2000s. Before I even moved to the Philippines, I knew who Manny Pacquiao was, and I love the fact that he was a southpaw fighter. All right, so for me, like I said, as we're talking about now, we're thinking about retirement. I don't think this man gonna be able to fight and potentially be president if he is elected at the exact same time. All right. It's just not. It just doesn't seem plausible that Manny Pacquiao is going to be able to fight and be a president of an entire country at the exact same time. I mean, when he was the governor of Sarangani out there in General Santos City, he could get away with it. Even as a senator, there are other senators that could potentially take part and do what needs to be done for him while he is away, while he's training and all of the above. There are other senators that could be involved. I think there's like 12 senators. Don't hold my hand to the flame if that's an inaccurate number. But as a president, if he is elected, he ain't gonna be able to fight no more. I just don't see him being able to manage both of those lives. Now, I did hear this, and I don't know how true it is, but somebody tell me if it's true or false. But I had heard that Manny Pacquiao said that he was going to pay the entire debt of the Philippines if he was elected president. Now, I know this man got money, but we'll have to see. I don't know how true that is, that Manny Pacquiao was going to pay off the entire debt of the country. Maybe I was just hearing things, but somebody said some shit that made me think he really just said that. He probably really did say that. All right, so as the sitting senator, soon to be potentially president of the entire country, because I think Duterte's run is up in the next year. They got 6 years in office. Yeah, 2022, I believe, they'll hold elections. All right, so we will have to wait and see how this all plays itself out. But ladies and gentlemen, Pacquiao took an L, and I'm kind of disappointed. I'm kind of disheartened by it. And, you know, I didn't tell you my story. I'm sorry. But when Manny Pacquiao lost to Timothy Bradley and Floyd Mayweather Jr., when I was actually, that happened while I was still officially in the Philippines, people were looking at me away. Like, I know it seems weird, like, nobody give a fuck about you, Doc. What are you talking about? But it was something underlying were in the fact that I resembled the people that beat their home country hero. People did stare at me a little weird, man. So usually on days when Manny Pacquiao fights and he loses, at least on those two particular days, I just stayed in the house for a couple of days. I didn't have the energy because literally people will look at me and say, "Oh, Timothy Bradley, you think I'm joking? I'm not fucking with y'all." Or, "Oh, Floyd Mayweather." Like literally right after the fights would happen, they would do that to me, and I'm like, "Yeah, shit, he lost, bro. What you want me to say?" But ideally, man, he probably should retire. I was dead ass looking forward to him fighting Earl Spence Jr. I like Earl Spence Jr. I'm not a big boxing guy at all. Like I said, I'll follow up when Pacquiao's fight and maybe see what Floyd Mayweather has going on. But the only other fighter that I follow extensively is Earl Spence Jr. And that would have been a bomb-ass fight because Earl Spence Jr. is a fast dude. All right. And I like Earl Spence Jr. I do. And I do not believe that fight's going to happen now since, unfortunately, Manny took the L, and he's probably not gonna keep going, but he hasn't officially announced his retirement yet. Man has had a great career, over 70 professional fights. It's a lot of damn fights, y'all. Over 70 professional fights. He's been at it like a crack addict for a long time. But the way that I see it is like this, gentlemen. Manny Pacquiao is going to have a lot on his plate, especially as it comes to the electoral time or the elections and stuff like that. He's probably going to put a lot of money behind his campaign and run for office. And do I believe he has a greater chance of winning? Yeah. I don't do politics very much, but let me lay this one out for you because this is the funniest thing you'll ever hear from me. And this is the funniest thing that I've ever learned about the Philippines. Filipinos will elect you into governmental offices whether you have government experience or not. Depending on how popular you are will determine whether you get voted in for offices. All right. There was Bongravilla, and I'm just going to use this as an example. This man got in trouble, as far as I can remember, as being allegedly associated with the pork barrel scam. Just Google the pork barrel scam and it'll tell you exactly what it was about. But I think his name was attached to it where he took money. It was kind of like a corruption thing. And I think he ended up getting caught up in that, ended up losing his position. And then I think he ended up being reelected again, even though he was a part of this stuff. So your action heroes, I think Robin Padilla is trying to get into this. And these are names that some of my foreigners may not know, but you can Google them if you want to. But there's a lot of action stars. There's a lot of, sports heroes or whatever you want to call it that are running for government office. And even though they do not have any government background, with the exception of Manny Pacquiao, before he was governor, he had nothing. But again, he did do governor, he did do Senate, and now he's trying to go for president. So ideally, he did follow somewhat of a political path to power should he actually get elected in office. But some of these other guys, man, just because of their popularity, they got elected into certain offices. And this is one thing that you're definitely going to find in the Philippines. The bigger your popularity, the more likely you are to get elected into public office. Even if you don't necessarily qualify for certain positions in these offices, you're going to get in. All right. And it does depend on A, level of popularity, or B, your associations. There have been people who are associated with the Duterte administration that are senators now. Bongo and Bato. Bato was the head of security, I believe, before he became a senator. And Bongo was the president's aide, I believe, or like his right-hand man at the time. I don't think he had any government official whatever until he was elected. My Filipino people can correct me if I'm wrong, but there are certain people who are elected into offices by popularity and by association. So the way I see it is, man, Philippine politics is always going to be interesting to me, and I'm definitely interested to see who's going to come into office, whether that be Pacquiao, whether that be Mayor Inday Sara Duterte, which is President Duterte's daughter. Who knows who's going to hit that office, man? But I do believe that if she runs, it will be one of those two. It'll either be the current president's daughter or it'll be Manny Pacquiao. If either one of those two run. And then again, like you guys know, man, when it comes to Philippine politics, just because you're president, the person that's running with you as vice president doesn't necessarily mean that person's going to win. I do believe, and I'm not sure about this one, correct me if I'm wrong, but although President Duterte can't run for president again, can he still run for vice president? Because if so, if his daughter runs for president and he runs for vice president, I could almost bet every centavo I have in my pocket that that party would win. Something tells me in my heart of hearts that if the president can run for vice president, because he's run for vice mayor before when his daughter was the mayor, so if he can run as vice president, I do believe they will win. Hands down. I do believe that. I do believe that a party that consists of Sarah Duterte, mayor of Davao City, and Pacquiao, whether that be vice president, president, or whatever position they choose, if they were to be a cohesive unit and come together, that could potentially be a win. I mean, I think that they would take the W as well. But here we go, man. Doc, just rambling on, just having this topics of conversation. But it's the way I see things, man. And Pacquiao took the L tonight, or last night, or whatever the fight happened. I'm sorry. And it's unfortunate. But I do believe that man has made a lot of money in boxing. I do believe that a lot of people did have their hands in his pockets, unfortunately. But that's just me from the outside looking in. And I do believe that hopefully he'll be able to figure out what he's gonna do after boxing is over. Might be a senator again. If he's the president, I would love to see how the country would run under the presidency of a Manny Pacquiao. That seems bugging crazy. Manny Pacquiao's president. It's got good taste, man. It's got a good ring to it, man. We'll see how things go, man. This is just a Doc sharing his thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to go and get to getting, man. Y'all stay blessed. Y'all stay true. If you like this video, drop a like on it, man. I'd highly appreciate that. If you have not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscription button in one of them little corners down at the bottom. All right? Y'all stay care. Y'all take care. Y'all stay blessed. And with that being said, Good Doc is officially out. At least nako paalam, which means I am going now. Bye-bye. As always, love you guys. Sincerely do. Mahal kita. Mabuhay. Peace.